In this video, we are going to consume protected movie API resources from the MVC Movies client application. As you know that we have protected our API application, so now when we try to send requests to API, it will require a token. So in order to get token, we should use identity model NuGet package, and after that we will send requests with token to the protected API resources. Let's take an action. Let me collapse all applications and close all tabs. In this section, we are going to focus on these movies client and API communications. So in the client project, for the communication, we have API services, and in this section, we are going to focus on implementing these movies API service with real HTTP consume methods. So first of all, we are going to install NuGet package into our movies client MVC application. So for that purpose, I'm going to right click dependencies, manage NuGet package, and browse the package identity model. Okay, click and install this package. Okay, this package will help us for OpenID Connect and OAuth 2 client library for ASP.NET Core. So we will use this library for getting token. After installing this package, we can go to the movies client application, open the movies API services, and locate the get movies function. So we are going to modify this method. Let's write a PCO code first. Let me come here. In this method, what we will do one by one, I'm going to write a PCO code. First of all, we require a get token. Let me write this one. Okay, first of all, we need to get token from the identity server. Of course, we should provide the identity server configuration like address, client ID, and client secret. And the second item will be the send request to protected API. Okay, after we get the token from identity server, we send the request to protected API, and of course, when we are sending the request to protected API, we should add the token information into the header of these HTTP requests. And after we send the request, the important thing is we are deserialize the object to movies list. So it's return a movie list. We should deserialize this object. For that purpose, we will use the Newtonsoft JSON package. And of course, these are the steps, and we have to comment this line of codes, right? Let me start with this, but leave it as it is because the function could be broke. Let me start my codes. After that, I will comment this line of codes. So we have finished our PCO code. I mean, we have write down what we are going to do one by one, and focus on now the first item. Let's start by adding below codes. Get token from the identity server. So we have identity server in here, and identity server port is 5005. You can check, right click and properties, code debug, and make sure that this app URL should be 5001, because when we are getting token, we should provide some of the configurations like URLs 5000 port, and also we have to give some config values what we are providing in the configuration for identity server. We will give the client ID, secret, and the scope, so on. So let me write first and I will explain later. First of all, we should get the token information. Okay, so we are going to use client credential token request. Before we are request a token, we should provide this class, and as you can see that this class comes from the identity server model package. So let me import this namespace. So we are going to retrieve our API credential, and this must be registered for the identity server, and this is important. As you can see that we are giving the address name with the token address. You can get this address when sending the discovery document. in the token endpoint. You can see that, and client ID will be the movie client, and client secret will be the secret. Let me verify these values. And scope, of course, we would like to reach the movies API, or this is our protected APIs. Let me verify. Open the config class of the identity server and see that we have a movie client, the first client what we have developed in the first sections. So the allowed scope is the movie API, and the client secret is the secret. So we are acting like a this client because we would like to consume the APIs. So that's why we are giving the client ID movie client now. Okay, after we are preparing our client credential token request, one by one we should go to the HTTP client request. So for that purpose, I'm going to create a new HTTP client in order to talk with the identity server. So let's import this namespace. And before we are requesting the token, make sure that the discover document is working fine or not. For that purpose, we are going to write this kind of code. We just check if we can reach the discover document, and it is not mandatory, but it is good to use. We can call the discover document with client.getDiscoverDocument async function. Of course, we provide the URL of our identity server. We have set that 5005. We are exposing the identity server application. So if there is no problem for the discover document, we can proceed our application. So now I need to get token information from the identity server, and it is really basic when we are request the client credential token async. As you can see that we have already an extension method. It is very useful method. It is directly request the client credential token async from our identity server application. Of course, we provide the API credentials in here. API credentials what we are prepared in here. This is very important to provide the correct information. After that, these credentials passing this method, and this method directly return us the token response, I mean access token. So if there is no error, we also check in here, we can proceed our operations. So so far we have get token from the identity server 4, and now we are focused on the send request to the protected API. This was the first step, and now we are going to focus on the second step. Okay, let me come here and put the second step in here. So in the second step, we are focused on the sending request to our protected API. Our protected API is movies API project. So for that purpose, again, I'm going to create another HTTP client in order to perform the consume operation from the protected API. This is our API client, and the important thing is set the bearer token. When we are sending the request, we should set the bearer token from the authorization header. For that purpose, I will write this kind of code. We have a client, and this client will be the set bearer token, right? After that, when we are set the bearer token with the access token, we have access token from this one. And of course, this should be the, I think, API client, because this time we are going to consume from the protected API. So we create a new HTTP client, and this HTTP client header should be the bearer token, and this bearer token what we have get done from the identity server 4. So after that, we are going to send a request for the protected API, and now we are send request with using the get async function, API client.get async function. And in the get async function, we provide the URL information about our movies URL. As you remember that in the movies URL, we exposing to 5001, and our APIs is API/movies. You can verify that controller class and authorized controller class API/controller name, that means movies. So let me come back our movies API project, and not forget about it. Now we are in the MVC application and the API services. We are going to consume our protected APIs. So we verify the URL of this API client. And we can say that ensure success status code. This is for providing code to exception handling. And after that, finally we can reach our content with using this information. Response content read as string. So we have read the response of this object, right? I mean the response of the HTTP request. So the important thing is now we are going to convert this response as our movies object. For that purpose I am going to deserialize the movie object. So let me give the comment also in here. Yes, in this case we need to install the JSON convert package. We can using the Newsort.json package. Okay, very good. Basically it's like a mapping. We are taking the content and we are passing this content as a list movie object. So now we have a ready for the movies object, and we can return the movies object or get movies function. For that purpose I am going to remove this hard-coded value anymore. Okay, yes, very good. We have also removed these hard-coded values. And let me summarize what we have done so far. We have a get movies function into the movies API services, which provide to consume these APIs, protected APIs from our MVC application. First of all, we are going to get token from the identity server. The first point is we are preparing our token request object. Of course we should give our identity server URL with the token URL, give the client ID and client secret. We are using the movies client because it is consuming for the preparing for consume operation, and we would like to reach the scope of the movies API. And after that we check the discover document. If everything's work, we are getting the token information from the identity server for. After that we are creating another HTTP client, and we are set token information, bearer token information once we send the request with the token endpoint. And after that we are send the HTTP request with the bearer token endpoint from the to the API movies project to movies protected APIs. And we are getting the response as a content object, and after that we are deserialize this object into our list of movies and return this movie object. So this is what we have done so far for this function. So finally we can build and run our application with the debug mode. You can put the debug in here and we will inspect these operations. So let me right click the solution and prepare the solution. This time we are going to run all the applications. So I'm going to set a multiple startup project, and I would like to see the movies API also starting. Apply and okay. So now we put the breakpoint in the API servers, and after that I am going to put the breakpoint also the movies API protected resource under the get movies section. Okay, to verify that this function is calling or not. But the important thing is the get movies of our MVC application, how we get the request from the identity server and how we proceed the consume operation. So we have put the debuggers on movie API service, MVC application, and also our protected API. Let me run our application. When we run the application, in some cases identity server 4 is not working. Make sure that it is created 3 cron tab and make sure that identity server is working up and run. It is really important. And we will see the token and the retrieve movies from the protected API project. Let's see what happened now. This is our protected API project, this is our MVC client application, and this is our identity server. Okay, identity server is working fine, and it is okay for us. Identity server, as you can see that also we have a identity server window. I'm closing this window. And the another thing is the protected API. Protected API is working fine. It's okay. Movies API exposing 5001. We are going to consume this API with passing the token, and you can see the API console window is okay. And this is our client application, what we will see the demo our application. Okay, now I'm going to click the movies and see what happened our new codes. Just click the movies and see the debugger. Of course it is request username and password. Now I'm going to provide this information. After that, our debugging operation is running. As you can see that we are now in the get movies section. When we are get the movies section, we can get the token from the identity server 4. Let me see with this client credential token request. We have prepared these requests, and as you can see details in here. We have token address information, and we have client ID and client secret information, and we have scope movies API. So after that, I'm creating a new HTTP client and requesting to discover document from our identity server, and we have no any problem. We have discover document. It is requested properly. You can see the details in here also, and now it's ready for the calling the identity server for getting request token, and there is no error again, and we have a token response. You can reach the token response with the access token information. This is our token. You can inspect this token with the jvt.io website, but we know that it is generating for us, and now it is ready for the send request for the protected API. So that's why I'm creating a new HTTP client object and set the bearer token with the access token, and just hit the HTTP get method with this access token. Okay, now as you can see that the debugger comes to our protected API, which is the movies API, and it's returning all of the movies, and we can continue with this. Put the breakpoint in and F5. Yes, as you can see that we get the token content from the response of this get movies object, and now the last thing is we are deserializing this JSON response as our movie list, and that's all. We get the movie list into the list object now, and we are returning this object. Just hit the F5 and see what happened with our window. Let me see in this window. Yes, we can see all of the movies in here, and we can reach this information with getting token from the identity server 4. So as you can see that we have managed to get token and send the request to the protected API and get the movie list in our MVC client application.